So I gotta apologize. I've got some bad news. So as you know, Carolyn and I have lived here on the property for about 3 years. We built a little tiny house. The property was $4,200, had a well on it. The well needed some refurbishing, but for another $500 we got the well refurbished, and I think it's in really good shape. That $500 includes a backup well pump, because we bought a well pump and it was just too big. It didn't really need it that big, so we got a smaller one. Well, we still have that one in backup in case this one ever goes out. We built a tiny house for $5,000. I've actually watched YouTubers say you cannot build a tiny house for under $20,000. And the cheapest way to build a tiny house is to build it with a Home Depot shed. I documented the whole process, told you everything. You can go back to my videos, go to my channel, go to playlist. You'll see tiny house build or something like that in the playlist. And I document the whole thing, how much it costs. Of course, I didn't show receipts or anything, but we was able to go to Facebook Marketplace and buy windows and doors. So yeah, you can build it for $5,000. I think it's more likely that it's easier for a YouTuber to say that I'm lying than to actually do it themselves. So it's just, well, I'll just go buy one and say you can't do it. Which I will admit, you can save quite a bit of money if you don't want to build a tiny house by going and getting a Home Depot shed. You probably pick one of those up for $5,000. Of course, you got to do a lot of work to it. You still got to put shower and water and insulation and sheetrock or whatever you're going to put on the inside. So it's still going to run you up on cost, whereas mine total with everything was $5,000. Prior to that, we were traveling the country as nomads and in this old truck camper, and prior to that was a pop-up camper. We did that, I guess, for, I don't know, 4 years, 3 or 4 years. And so we parked that here and we stayed in until we got the tiny house built. You can go to my channel, and right at the introductory page, trailer to my channel, is the first day we were here. The camper was still on the truck. We backed the truck up to this location and just stayed here overnight. Well, I think we stayed in the truck for 3 days because I think the first thing I did was I tried to get the well running. I wanted to get water. We needed water. Then we got the camper off the truck, and then I hooked up solar panels. So we ran on the generator for 3 or 4 days straight, which we'd never done before. We never ran it overnight. As nomads, I would run the generator 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the evening. We had one battery, and it was tied into the truck battery. So we had basically 2 batteries, the truck battery and a deep cycle battery, a marine RV battery. So at the time, I think we had 8 solar panels and just 1 battery at the time. And since then, we've expanded our solar panel system quite a bit. Shortly after that, we got 2 more panels. So for 3 years, we've had 10 panels. And over time, I've just kept growing the number of batteries we have. So now we're up to 8. I'm telling you, now we are absolutely where we need to be. Just the other day, I bought 2 more panels and another charge controller. So I basically have 2 systems in place now. I got 6 panels on one charge controller, 6 panels on the other charge controller, all running into my 8 battery bank. Today, I got up at 5 o'clock, came down here. The batteries were in still excellent condition from overnight use on the freezer. So I didn't need to run the generator. So this was the first real test. It's a nice sunny day. So we had to go to the store. Normally I fill the IBC tank, the water tank, about 9:30, 10 o'clock. Well, this morning we had to go to the store, so I filled it before 8:30 because we left here at 8:30. So I'm not sure what time it was. So that means the sun wasn't even hitting the solar panels yet. Those 2 panels up there, the sun can hit around 8, I think around 8 o'clock. But these, I don't get any sun until 9:30 because of the trees behind it. Got home about 11:30 and the batteries were basically charged. I mean, there was maybe 2 or 3 amps remaining that needed charged. But then Carolyn came down here to paint the floor to the shed. As you know, we're gonna get rid of the old truck camper and we're gonna replace it with this shed that she put together. So she got the floor painted. I think she's gonna do a little touch-up paint on it. And then we're gonna get that drug over here behind the solar panels. And then we'll start switching all the batteries and inverters and charge controllers out of the camper into that shed. But we want to get the camper tore down before wintertime, because when wintertime hits, the camper will block these solar panels from the sun. It's not gonna be that big of a deal now that we have 2 systems in place. essentially I can move 4 batteries over into the shed, 1 charge controller over to the shed, get all those hooked up, get that switched over, just unplug the house, because the house is plugged into the inverter, and then plug it into those 4 batteries and 6 solar panels, and then do the second set, bring it over, do the same thing. That way I don't have to run off the generator. That's been my big concern, is having to run off the generator for a couple of days. But that second charge controller sure has opened up our world. So the batteries are now charged. She washed her paintbrush and used quite a bit of water out of her clothes washing sink. So I had to fill that back up. So I did that again, and the batteries are charged again. So this second charge controller has made all the difference in the world. I tried to explain to you in previous videos that in the past, after I shut the well off, the charge controller would drop down to 27 amps to charge the battery, although I had 50 amps of solar panels. And I think I have a theory as to why. I think it thinks I only have 100 amp hour battery, whereas I have 8, the charge controller. I think it believes I have 1. So now that I have 2 charge controllers, they're both producing 25, 27 amps into the batteries after I shut the well off. So I'm getting about 50, 52 amps into the batteries after I shut off the well pump, whereas I used to get 27. So I mean, huge improvement. Yesterday it was cloudy and the batteries were charged, so tomorrow it's gonna be cloudy again. Yesterday I made a mistake and I ran the generator in the morning. I'm not gonna do that tomorrow. It's gonna be cloudy, I'm gonna get up and I'm just gonna let the solar panels do their job. And if it doesn't charge well enough, then I'll run the generator that evening so we can get through the night. But I want to test it. I want to see if it will actually recharge the batteries on a cloudy day, which has not been the case in the past. So I've been asked several questions and being dictated to, you know how my subscribers are, the trolls, whatever you want to call them. So I have one legitimate question, and I had a troll tell me that basically I've spent too much money. I need to shut this operation down, take care of Carolyn, and be a real man and hook up to the grid. Well, first of all, when we talk about the cost of the solar panels and the charge controller, it is a hobby to me. I have seen guys go out and buy thousands of dollars worth of firearms or fishing equipment because that's their hobby. And they make all kinds of excuses to their spouses, and they'll say, well, if I go out and get a deer, that's going to save us on meat costs. So he goes out and spends a few $1,000s on guns, and then every year he goes hunting, he's got to spend another few $1,000s buying all the equipment he needs. He's got to buy a camper. So he's got this, $100,000 camper. I don't know if it's that much. I'm using, that's a bit of an exaggeration. And then of course you got to have the truck to pull it. So then you spend another $50,000, $60,000 on a truck, maybe, I don't know, 80,000, however much they are. All because he wants to save some money on meat. Or you have the fisherman who that's his hobby, and he wants to go fishing. So he's always got the best fishing rods, and he's always got the best tackle. He's got the best boat. Maybe a camper, depending on where he's going. And then he's got to travel to all these lakes, because all the lakes have apparently different fishing habits. But I'm criticized because I say that I try to save money using solar panels. You can't save money on solar panels. It'll take you a lifetime to do it. Besides that, solar panels wear out in 20 years, you're gonna have to replace them. Well, that's not entirely true. They will become less efficient. That's true, but they won't just stop working on the 20-year mark. They may lose, I don't know, 10% each year. I don't know how much they lose, but they lose some. I can add to them and still get the same amount. So it's a hobby. I really enjoy doing this. So when you break down the costs, you figure when you live in a house, you waste electric. I did. Run the air conditioner. I don't really need the air conditioner. I know this, but you run it because you come home from work, you're tired, you're hot, and you just want to sit down, watch some TV in a cool house. So you run the air conditioner. So you waste an electric. Well, here I can't waste electric. I waste electric, I run out, I can't run the freezer. So that requires me to reduce my electric usage. I don't care if I hook it up to the grid today or not. I would end up in the next 5 years using as much electric as I used to. I do believe it's just human nature. But when you don't have the electric and you can't afford to spare it, you don't use it. So what are the costs of the solar panels? Well, the solar panels are $74 each. I just looked. You can buy a set, these are called Rich Solar, you can get them off Amazon, for $145. So it was a little bit cheaper to buy the set than it was to buy them singly. And so I have 12 of them. I'm gonna let you do the math. I wasn't gonna sit here and do all the math, but I got 12 of them. But I bought them over time. Like I said, the first set, I bought 6 of them to test them out at Mom's house. We were still in the camper, kind of buying all the supplies we needed to come move down here. We were there for, I think, a month and a half. So I bought 6 of them. And then later, I bought another 2 that had 8 while we were still at Mom's house. And then when we got here, a while later that summer, we bought 2 more. And we've had 10 ever since 2 days ago. Now we've got 12. And then you have the charge controller. And the charge controller costs $94. That's with taxes. Maybe it's $95. It's actually $89 on Amazon, but then they charge you the tax. And I have 2 of those. Now, up until 2 days ago, I've had 1. And I've been able to run our place just fine. I wasn't able to run the well. Well, I could, it was just really difficult. So I got 2 of those, so there's another $200. And then I have the batteries. You can get these Walmart batteries. You get the biggest battery at Walmart. You go to the automotive section, pick up a battery. It's the biggest one there. And they're $100 each. And they've been $100 forever. And so, like I said, I have 8 of them. So yes, the price has gone up pretty high, but those will last 5 years. I've heard people say, get Battle-Born batteries, you'll save money. But when you break it down, Battle-Born batteries only last, and those are lithium-ion batteries, they last 10 years. And to get 400 amp hours, I would have to spend more money to get those, and they would still balance out to the same amount of usage. The lead acid ended up being cheaper than the Battle-Born batteries when I did all the calculations. Then I have an inverter. Now, I've always relied on a 1,000-watt inverter. And the reason I've always relied on just 1,000 watts is because it can run what we need it to run. And it saves electricity. There is a loss of electricity with the inversion from DC to AC. So if you have your inverter on and it's not doing anything, everything's unplugged from it, you will lose about 1 amp on a 1,000-watt inverter. Whereas if you got a 2,000-watt inverter, you're going to lose 2 amps. And so 2 amps in a 24-hour period is basically 1 battery. So I'd have to get a battery just to run it. I also have a 2,000-watt inverter, but I only use it when I need high electric demand. So like when I'm running the well or running the air conditioner for Carolyn's son, we'll just switch everything over to the 2,000-watt. Now, the 2,000-watt was $250. The 1,000-watt is about half that price, maybe $125. But if it wasn't for the well, that is key to what I'm getting ready to say here. I wouldn't need as much as what I got. I don't need the 2,000-watt inverter. I don't need the extra charge controller, and I don't need the extra 2 panels. The 10 panels and the 1 charge controller always did a fine job keeping our freezer running and keeping our house going. So it's not necessary to do that. The reason I have expanded recently is because I got excited about the well and not having to run the generator anymore. Even on cloudy days, yesterday we ran the well and it recharged. So tomorrow I'm going to find out if I need the generator as much as I've had to in the past. I don't think I'm going to. And then I have 2 generators. For the longest time I only had 1, and it was starting to get really old, so we wouldn't have bought a second one. So the first one was about $450. And it's a inverter generator. So they're a little bit more expensive, but they run quieter and they last a lot longer. The one we had lasted about 8,000 hours. But I went ahead and bought a dual fuel generator, propane gasoline mix. And I've been running the well off that until I found out about a month ago that we can run them off solar panels. So I haven't ran the generator for the well in the last month. Well, then the same time Carolyn's son came here, that old generator finally died. So we bought this one. So that one was $300, like $299. And the dual fuel was like $540. So again, you can calculate your own price. It is not necessary that you have a system as big as mine. It all depends on what you want to do. I've advocated for a very long time, buy your system in pieces, just a little bit here and there. $74 for a solar panel. You could probably save money up each month to buy a solar panel once, one panel a month, 1 panel every other month. I'm not telling you to spend your money. I'm just saying if that's what you want to do, you don't have to go out and buy the whole thing all at once. As a matter of fact, probably better if you just bought a little pieces at a time. That way you can play with it, learn how it works, and learn how, if you need more. So go out, get yourself a solar panel, $74. Go out and get yourself an inverter for maybe $100. A charge controller for $100. So we're up to $450. That would get you started. And then the next month, go get yourself another $74 panel and you can hook it into the system you already have. And then eventually you're going to find out, well, do I have enough batteries? Now, if you're not running a freezer or a lot of items overnight, you wouldn't need as many batteries as we do. Like I said, when we were nomads, we only had one battery in the truck battery, so it was all tied in together, and we ran the generator for 8 hours a day. So we didn't need a lot of batteries. We were able to get through the night. But now we have a much larger demand on electric. We run fans and the freezer, and of course our son's on it and he's got lights on at night. But as far as the troll saying that this is not cost effective and I need to be a man, well, I can guarantee you the reason he's saying that is because he's jealous. He has his own hobby. He's probably a fisherman or a hunter or whatever he does, and he can't identify what he wants to do in life. So instead of saying, well, I've just messed up, I should have bought solar panels instead of a bunch of whatever, it's easier to say that it's just not cost effective for me to do it. I just don't believe that. Let's say I spent $2,000 on the whole system. Like I said, you'd have to do the calculations. I didn't do them. So let's say I spent $2,000. I know for a fact that I've already saved money. If I'd have still been living at that house, I would have spent $2,000 on electric easily. So they're already paying for themselves. Granted, I had to reduce my electrical consumption, but that's just forcing yourself to live within your means. When I was living in a house hooked up to the grid, I wasn't living with any type of structure. It was just, I went to air conditioner. So if you click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about all the components in the cloudy days about the solar panels. So hope I can inspire you to have fun when you're living your dreams. Thanks for watching.